an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Morning Star, Red Rising, Book 3, chapters 43 through 47. In these chapters, we are in a full-pitched space battle. And I'm going to be honest, you guys, this was kind of hard for me to follow sometimes. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Ashley for commissioning this episode. And Ashley is here in the chat. Hi, Ashley. And Cassie. This section, you guys, it's so funny that this is happening now because I find this happens a lot. Something that I am watching or reading in my spare time winds up having a particular plot point happen at the same time as something I'm covering. And so that particular trope will really be on my mind. But I have been reading the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I've read the first 3. They definitely improve after the first one. I'll say that a lot. But the third book ends in a pitched battle between like many different sides that wind up coming together. When I say many, I'm talking like 15, you know. And I really enjoyed the book pretty much like up until battle began. And it wasn't that I don't like it. It is simply that my brain slides right off it. And it's just something particular to me, as my interest is always so character driven. I pay the utmost attention to dialogue, and I can read something once and quote it accurately, almost verbatim, instantly. But when it comes to telling me where formations are and what landmark somebody is trying to obtain while another is south on the... My guys, I am so sorry. Like, there's a reason that after covering A Song of Ice and Fire with Brendan for 3 years, we went to a bar trivia night about A Song of Ice and Fire where we were meant to fill out a map with the names of the areas in Westeros. We couldn't have been more far off if we were doing it on purpose. We were so bad at it because our brains just do not work that way. So while it's not that I didn't like this section, I really want to emphasize that I'm going to get things wrong because the way that I had to try and keep so many different parts in mind, I had myself starting to glitch out a little bit. So I just wanted to forewarn you all of that. So we start off chapter 43 with a whole new group of praetors and legates rising after making a solemn blood oath. And Mustang is like leading this, and she smears the blood over her face, but Darrow is not participating in this, which makes sense as he is not actually gold. The way that they feel about him maybe it would influence that a little bit. I don't know if that's like, you know, consciously what he was thinking, or if this is just because he feels it's Mustang's moment and he doesn't need to be part of that. I couldn't help but wonder, like, I know they're fighting for you, but are these people like that cool with it that if you made them take an oath, they would still take it as seriously as to another gold? Probably. I don't know, though. There's a lot to overcome in that, you know? I've been here before witnessing this benediction, and I can't help but feel I will be here again. It has lost none of its luster, none of the grandeur that so sheathes this remarkable people. They go to death not for the veil, not for love, but for glory. We have never seen a race quite like them, nor will we again. And the the whole like energy here, especially after him being kidnapped and held, is so sorrowful. Like, this is just what happens, though, as you age. You can't help but feel a little bit of sadness when you're looking at a young child, or not even child, just somebody that you know, they are unaware of what the hardships they're going to face. Even if you are a really privileged person in a lot of ways, we all have our journeys. And you learn and suffer a lot, you know, and some much more than others. So that really does sort of seep into the narrative all the time with him after this trauma that he underwent. Trauma that, I have to be honest, you guys, I just can't help but feel isn't really being acknowledged enough. It feels like we were able to just ignore it, and the trauma is much more about like the sort of process of living like any older person. But his ordeal, I don't see that on him, that the scars on him from that, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, part of me is like, if we did an accurate version of that, then he probably wouldn't be able to do this anymore. And maybe that's true, but also maybe then you write that, you know? I don't know. How do you guys feel about it? So he's looking down at everybody, and he has Sephi beside him. And my allies needed to see her, to see me, to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Reaper is more alive than ever. And I really wonder if people are sure. Because it must be a real mindfuck for this man's, like, execution to have been aired. And then he just pops up again. What would convince them? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not sure if there's anybody out there that's still sort of like, no, fool me once, you know? Anyway, there's this really touching moment between Darrow and Cavax. And Darrow is trying to thank Cavax, and Cavax is like, what do you mean? And Darrow's like, you have been like faithful and careful about all my friends, even though I'm a red, I'm not gold. And he's like, the fuck you aren't. Yeah, my boy made you one of us. And she made you one of us. And if we damn all that, I say you're one of us. So one of us you are. I love this guy so much. And then he says, like, you know, we're going to go fishing and get drunk together. That's what we're going to do after all of this is wrapped. Then he has a moment with Mustang. And a little bit of sort of, you know, I want to say be careful, but what's the point? And she's like, you have got to come back from this. And he's like, I will. And she's like, but do you mean it? I am dead serious. I can't just lose you again. And she starts to turn and leave. And he grabs her and pulls her in and kisses her and like lets himself hold her. It's not just like the passionate goodbye kiss before he walks away. The chapter closes with him still with his arms wrapped around her and his face in her hair. And I really liked that it's not just like, I'm going to do this bold thing. I know they've had sex, so it might seem weird for it to sound, but you know, after everything, I just can't help but like appreciate him being given a moment by the author instead of him being forced to be the cool guy who like kisses that hot chick just to let her know he loves her and then walks away, you know? I let him have like some moment of tenderness. Okay, so chapter 44. He is working with Virga, and this whole like, guys, this is so it's, as I'm reading it, and as I have already mentioned, the difficulty that I have keeping track of things at times. There were so many moments that I was like, wait, does this mean it's going all wrong? And then I would be like, he seems to want this to happen, so I'm going to trust that all of this is part of the plan. And then questioning whether or not I should do that, because maybe I wasn't keeping track of things as well as I thought, and maybe it wasn't all a part of the plan. And it turns out mostly it is. It is part of the plan. But I was just so like conscious of how bad I am at this because of how much I kept doubting my own assumptions. There is no preamble for my fleet, no benediction or rite that we perform before battle like the Golds. For all our rite, we seem so pale and simple compared with them. But there's a kinship here on my ship. One I saw in the engine room, in the gunnery stations, on the bridge. A dream that links us together and makes us brave. And the Orion is in contact with them. Big fleet, Orion says of our enemy, impressed. I knew I never should have answered your call. I was rather enjoying being a pirate. I'm trying to understand you guys with the italics, what that's about. It's very interesting the way that, like, it's italics for blues. Is it all blues? I think it might be all of them. But then we have the bold for, I can't remember if Sephi has bold as well. Or was it just Ragnar? I think Sephi also does. It reminds me of in the comic book that has Dream. Oh my God, you guys, you know the one I'm talking about. That way that different types of characters would have a different font written in their speech bubble. And it's just not all of the different colors have this, you know. There are certain ones that it's very pronounced on. And I wonder why he decided to do it that way with some and not others. Maybe if it's like the actual physiological differences are so extreme, you know? I don't know. Alex Sandman. Thank you, Alex. And Alex says, I always imagined a lot of the blues talking kind of monotone, robotic. That's sort of the way the narrator does it. Not fully monotone, but like pretty close. So the hell are you doing here? I ask as Victra enters the bridge. You're here, she replies innocently. You're supposed to be on the Shout of Mikos. This isn't the Mikos? Wow. I suppose I got lost. I'll just follow you around so that doesn't happen again. Severo sent you, didn't he? His heart's a little black thing, but it can break. Oh, and I want to say hello to Roke. What about your sister? Roke first, then her. I can be a team player too. I did really love this. I just enjoy Victra. I really do. She's a fun character. So he calls into Severo, and he's complaining about how tightly packed they are, which is a really careful, I think, misdirect to sort of like get us thinking that they're in the tubes that shoot later. But anyway, let's see. Sobriety? This moon smells like royal shit, worse than a dead horse. You're in a mech vacuum. It's likely not the moon. Oh, then it must be me. Oh, it is me. I told you to shower. Howler Rule 17, only pixies shower before battle, Severo says. I like my soldiers savage, stinky, and sexy. I'm proud of you, clown. Oh, these guys. I appreciate this. You need this injection of humor, man. The shit can be... every time I am in danger of feeling like the author is taking things too seriously, these moments really help to sort of leaven that for me. Because, like, you guys, there's a lot of speechifying. You know, I'm not trying to even necessarily say that that's a bad thing, but when you are listening via audiobook and the narrator is doing a certain voice when somebody is giving a speech, there can be almost a sense, if you're not fully on board, of like LOLing a little bit at the fact that they are being forced into the same kinds of bombastic performance over and over again. So I'm not saying this isn't legit, but I can sort of side-eye the author and be like, do you think you're super badass right now? You know? And then he has these moments, and granted, the way they're joking is a little bit of like, badass is about to go into battle joking, you know? So maybe this isn't a full, but I need it, just as the type of person I am. This is how I handle situations of tension that I am in. I inject a little humor in there to just try and fucking get this shit a little bit less heavy, you know? So I love that Seffi is like, it's way too loud on her output, and when she's trying to ask for help, it's just like so, and finally somebody has to come and help her. Oh, Seffi is the boomer trying to figure out how to turn something from a PDF into a Word doc. And Darrow just says, whatever happens, remember we're the lucky ones. And it's funny because like this is in response to, he's probably going to give a speech, and then Severo says, you're not going to admonish us to rage against the dying of the light. And it was funny to me that like he makes this joke, which was what I was thinking, but also then later we do get another speech anyway. So it almost feels like maybe the author himself is acknowledging that aspect of things when you have a lot of big battles, big moments, and people are leaders. This is what's going to happen. So maybe it's something that can't be avoided, but he's gonna at least be like, I get it, guys. No, I see it, but I'm doing what I can to keep that to a minimum. So let's see. Once more, I reply, I address the crew. How do you all feel? Awkward silence. And eventually, a young blue just says, we're ready to kill some bloody damn golds, sir. And then everybody laughs. And everything feels to be like we're on good footing again. My friends, this is the Reaper. My voice echoes over the mastercom in all 112 capital ships in my fleet. In the thousands of Ripwings, in the Leechcraft and the engine rooms and the med bays where doctors and newly appointed nurses walk through empty beds with crisp white sheets waiting for the flood. 38 minutes from now, Quicksilver and the Sons of Ares on Mars will hear it, and they'll boost the signal to the core. Whether we're alive at that time will depend on my dance with Roke. In mine, in space, in sky and city, we have lived our lives in fear. And all ships prepare for battle. That's me cutting out the little bit of the recording here. So then, 45, the Battle of Ilium. And it's very interesting to think about him and Roke going up against each other, as he puts it, from having studied under the same teachers. And especially, not just the same teachers, but Roke is like, he is so much a academic in some ways. Not in the, usually when somebody says you're being academic about it, it means like you only concern yourself with the theory and you have no idea how to deal with the practical. We know that's not true. Roke is very good at this. So I'm just talking about like the scholarly aspect that he has worn for so much of the story. I know that despite them both having studied under the same teachers and being taught a lot of the same things, that they must have taken very different things away, you know, and how much your personality influences the way you absorb and process information when it's the same information as the person sitting next to you, but they just have a completely different personality. I decided to overshoot his estimation of my insanity and show him how little he really understands the psychology of Reds. Today I lead the packs on a suicide mission into the heart of his fleet. But I don't begin the battle. Orion does. Metal shreds metal. Ships vomit oxygen and men. But ships are made to take a beating. Huge hulks of metal subdivided into thousands of interlocking honeycombed compartments designed to isolate breaches and prevent ships from venting with one railgun shot. From these floating castles stream thousands of tiny one-man fighter craft. They swarm in small squadrons through the no-man's land between our fleet and Roke's. Some packed with miniature nukes meant for killing capital ships. Helldivers and drill boys train night and day in sims by the sons of Ares fly with squadrons of synced blues. They slash into the Society's war-hardened pilots led by ripwings striped with gold. So, I'm sorry, Alex is commenting. He always came off as more the strategist who plays by the books and rules, and Darrow plays by the rules but unconventionally and therefore unexpected. That's interesting. I definitely think of him as somebody who plays by the books and rules. I feel like Darrow, saying that he plays by the rules feels like a different sentence than what I mean when I say it. But I think the thing with Darrow is that he is so willing to put himself on the line that it makes the way he looks at all of the battle different. I don't know how much Roke is willing to self-sacrifice for his side. You know what I'm saying? And I think that may be like a big part of where the difference between them lies, and how I see Roke as being more academic and the scholar, in that I think I imagine him as less invested than Darrow is. And I know that, like, I feel like that's kind of obvious in that Darrow, what he's fighting for, you know? But then I question whether that's really true, because Roke is really angry. And I think that I give him a little bit too much credit for having a cool head, when in fact he just knows how to, like, keep his rage to socially acceptable levels. And I think that maybe gives me a false impression that he is distant from things. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to just take forever to get through this at this rate. So they're pushing through, and there's a point where they pass the Pandora, which Victra says, seems my sister is enjoying my ship. And I'll tell you what, guys, I feel a particular antagonism toward Antonia that, like, sometimes trips me up and makes me go, like, is this just misogyny? Is that what's happening? But, like, the viciousness of her versus how cool Victra is, I think that's part of what makes it so extreme for me, is, like, when somebody's terrible, I can sort of chalk a lot of that up to just part of how they were raised. And not that I don't hold them responsible, but I can sort of just be like, I don't know what the circumstance, you know what I mean? But when, like, they're sisters this close together in age, and one of them is dope as hell, and the other one really fucking sucks, I can't help but think that's a choice. You know, like, these parents have proved they can raise a child that doesn't suck. So the fact that this one does, that's them. That's their problem, which isn't even necessarily, you know, like, but that's sort of, I think that's why. It's just like, Antonia, you had a choice. You could have been as cool as Victra. And instead you've just been this vicious piece of shit. And I think that you just deserve some comeuppance for that. Tell Tinos and Thebes helmsmen to punch -45 their midline and abandon ship. Multiple deck fires, an officer intones. Munitions detonations on deck 17. Engines 1 through 6 are down. 7 and 8 are at 40%. The Pax dies around me. Roke's Moonbreaker looms ahead. Twice the length of my ship. 3 times the girth. All forward guns target their railguns and missile launchers on their top deck, carve us a shadow. It doesn't matter what we do at this stage. We're a wolf pinned to the ground by a bear, and it's smashing our legs one by one, carving off our ears, our eyes, our teeth, but keeping our belly nice and ready for a raking. That was so visceral, that description. My helmsman Arnis has a seizure as the engines are shredded. I really felt like that is just unfair. These blues are synced to the ship, and therefore the ship gets damaged and it breaks their brains? I don't think I realized that's how that worked until this. And that's fucked up. What the fuck? I mean, everybody gets such a raw deal in this universe. I don't know when I'm going to stop being surprised. Roke is inviting us to launch our Leechcraft, drawing the Colossus closer to my dead ship. 1 kilometer away now. I accept the invitation. Launch all Leechcraft at the surface of the Moonbreaker now. Fire the spit tubes. So this is the point where I'm starting to be like, this feels like he's not that freaked out by the fact that stuff's constantly going wrong, which means that's got to be part of the plan. So Roke does his thing where he comes in and he's like, hey, I'm willing to let you all keep your lives if you'll just cave. And Darrow just says, fuck you. Fuck you. That's it. I really thought he was going to do something like, nope. It's just, what's the point at this point? You know, I feel that. I really do. So, chapter 46. Time to go, baby boy, Victor says. I pat the door frame of the bridge. Thank you, Pax, I say to the ship. One more friend lost to the cause. I follow Victra and the Marines in a sprint down the empty halls. Red lights pulse, sirens wail. Victra leaves a mine behind as a present for the boarding party. We hear it detonate 10 levels above us as the grav lift deposits us on level -3 in the auxiliary hangar. I, first of all, love it, -3, when it goes down from the central point. That makes so much sense. Also, keep forgetting that these ships are big enough that you can, like, set a mine and it blows up, but they don't feel the effect of that at all in another part of the ship. This is the sort of thing I mean when I'm talking about having trouble keeping things in mind. Like, the scale of everything, I need to be reminded of that, and then it makes me recontextualize something I read earlier as well. So, Holiday is, like, are they really as close as they look? And he's like, yeah, they want to get so close so that we can't shoot down their Leechcraft. So, this whole thing, Holiday and I abstain from the mushrooms as well. They're having the psychedelic mushrooms, all of the obsidians, that dulls pain and just makes them like bonkers in combat. Victory, you prime? I'm gory damn splendid, baby boy, a tall woman says. Take care of that pretty little ass of yours. She slaps my butt before backpedaling, blowing me an obnoxious kiss and jogging to her shuttle. I'll be right behind. Little needs to be said to such men. They nod their heads and grin. We depart. I fly 30 meters upward on my grav boots to land atop one of the 4 claw drills we confiscated from the Platinum Mining Company in the inner asteroid belt. They stand in a row on the hangar deck, each 50 meters apart. Like grasping hands, the cockpit where elbow would be, the dozen drill bits on the deck where fingers would reach. Each is retrofitted by Rollo to have thrusters on the back, and thick plates of armor extend down the sides. So now I'm starting to get the picture. I slide into the cockpit, enlarged for my frame and armor, and slip my hands into the digital control prism. Fire them up, I say. A familiar thrum of energy goes through the drill, vibrating the glass around me. I grin like a madman. Perhaps I am one, but I knew I could not win this battle without altering the paradigm. And I knew Roke would never be driven into a trap or lured into an asteroid belt for fear of exposing his larger force to ambushes. So I had only one recourse: hide my ambush in a flaw of character. He always preached for me to step back, to find peace. Of course, he thought he knew how to beat me, but I'm not fighting as the man he knew today, as gold. I'm a bloody damn hell diver with an army of giant, mildly psychotic women behind me and a fleet of state-of-the-art warships crewed by pissed-off pirates, engineers, techs, and former slaves. And he thinks he knows how to fight me? I laugh as the claw drill shakes my seat, filling me with a dormant, crazed sort of power. An enemy boarding party breaches the hangar from the same grav lift we took. They stare up at the huge claw drills and evaporate as Victra's shuttle fires a railgun at them from point-blank range. Oh, man. Drill's hot, I order. Helmets up. Let's burn. I flip the rotation toggle on my claw drill clockwise. Beneath, the drill whirs. I plunge both hands forward in the control prism. Existence shakes. Teeth rattle. The metal deck sags under me. Molten metal peels back. I lurch 10 meters down into the ship, carving through the deck in 5 seconds. And the one after that, I sink again, falling through the floor of the hangar bay completely. Chewed metal around the cockpit. Then the next deck goes. Then the next. Heat builds along the drill as I slam through more of the ship, leaving the Valkyrie behind. Slow the drill jams, slow you die. And this speed is the pulse of my people. Momentum following into more momentum. My claw drill is building up a hell of a pace. Let's see. Don't slow, I roar, entire body convulsing in the seat. I'm out of control, going too fast, drill too hot. Then, nothing. I breach the belly of the Pax. Silence of space grips me, weightless. I float like a spear through water toward the huge colossus. Leechcraft, bound for the Pax, streak past me, one close enough I can see the captain's wide eyes inside the cockpit. Guys, this is just so satisfying. Men and debris cartwheel to the side. The other drills exit farther down the Pax's belly, bursting into space, diving for the moonbreaker. Around us, the battle rages. Blue explosions, huge fields of flak. Mustangs group racing along the edge of Roke's formations, exchanging punishing broadsides. Severo still waits, hiding. I can feel the confusion, and I'm just reading this, you guys. I'm just as, for the next bit. I can feel the confusion in the enemy gunners. I'm in the center of their Leechcraft assault teams. They can't fire. Their computers won't even register the vessel classification. It'll look like a hunk of debris shaped like an arm from the elbow down. I doubt the bridge will even know what it is without seeing it with their naked eye. Blast engines, I say. The engines of the retrofitted claw drill kick behind me and hurl me down at the black surface of the Colossus. Recognizing my threat, a Ripwing sprays me with chain gun rounds. Thumb-sized bullets slam silently into the drill. The armor holds. Not so in the claw drill beside mine. When a railgun round fired from a 5-meter gun along the top crest of the Moonbreaker punches through the cockpit, murdering the Helldiver in it, his ship shatters. One of his drill bits slams into my glass cockpit, cracking it. A dozen more rounds shred the Leechcraft beside me. Roke might not know what the 30-meter projectiles coming from my ship are, but he's willing to kill his own men to stop their approach. I will fucking bet he is. I mean, question to the audience, do you think if this were happening to somebody other than Roke, that they would really credit this as about like a real threat? Because I keep thinking about like how much of his reaction here is just because he fucking knows Darrow, and I don't know what he's doing, but it can't be good. You know what I'm saying? Gray metal blurs toward me. A railgun slug fired from the Colossus punches through 3 Leechcraft in front of my ship before striking the bottom of my claw drill at the wrist. And he put wrist in quotes because of the description of the way that they look like arms. And I really appreciate, because he is like going out of control for a second, and he thinks he's going to slam into the surface of the Colossus and it's just going to kill him, which I will be honest, guys, I literally had like kind of lost track of the way this was set up. And I was like, aren't they meant to go through like hit the surface? And this is what I'm saying with like the difficulty on keeping some things straight in my head. The claw drill itself is all manual. Blues can't operate the digits any better than I can plot slingshots around a planet. My hands dance over the controls, flowing into my old mode of labor. I reactivate the drill using my engines to push me down like a nail into the surface of the ship. So you see, like, this makes sense that you don't want to just hit the fucking thing. But your girl wasn't thinking too clearly on this. It's a drill. It's not a nail, you know? So he is going for this, and it says 300 meters in, it breaks down. And I'm thinking, oh, that's it. He reaches in to like, pull on one of the, where is it? Yeah, here it is. I reach down to pop my cockpit canopy to abandon the drill, but my hand slips on the lever. Blood coats it. I search my body frantically, but my armor isn't punctured. The blood isn't from me. It floats off the right cockpit wall, slick around the round rail. Oh my God, this is such a tongue twister. Slick around the round railgun slug that pierced the 3 Leechcraft to embed itself in the support beam of my claw drill. Bits of hair and a fragment of bone clump in the clotting blood. I couldn't help but appreciate that. This has been such a bloodless battle due to the very nature of it. Plenty of people are dying, you know, but it's like not what you're used to. And this is just a nice, like, gut punch kind of reminder. No, these are people. These are people. They're not just like little digital guys that are in your video game floating out. Those are human beings, and they have blood and organs, and killing them is a little cleaner this way, but it's the same. So Severo is still waiting, and he 30 meters above me, something moves out from one of the levels I carved through, peering into the 20-meter wide tunnel. My helmet identifies an active weapon. I fly upward, activating my pulse shield as I go, only to find young Gray staring at me through the plastic faceplate of an emergency oxygen mask. He floats, one arm holding a ragged length of metal wall. Blood coats him, not his own. The body of one of his friends floats behind him. He's shaking. My drill must have gone through his entire platoon, and then space pulled their bodies out, leaving him alone here. The terror of me is reflected in his eyes. He raises his scorcher, and I react without thinking. Putting my razor into the side of his heart, I make him a carcass. He dies wide-eyed and young, and he floats there, upright till I put my foot to his chest so I can pull my blade out. We drift away from each other. I just really, I really appreciated this, guys. Having a moment of like face-to-face with somebody, it being very personal, and even the moment of like what probably happened and to the people, when you're reading it, it makes you feel like maybe Darrow is going to give this guy a break somehow and help him even. Like, I didn't really believe, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just such a tempered sentence that I wondered, would this change the way he behaved towards this guy? And then he kills him so quickly and so immediately that it was almost startling, even though he's been killing everybody. And there was a bit of me that felt like, wow, that really did feel different, didn't it? And just having to examine that a little bit, because it is just very easy to like take certain kills as being more important than others when everybody is a person? And why do we put certain, like, there's almost like a feeling of what he did was a little shameful here for me. I have to then take that next step and be like, well, why weren't the others? And it's the personal aspect of it. It's not rational. That judgment isn't correct, but it is how I feel about it. And that is just very telling. Breach Green in 15 Holiday says, Victra stands to the side listening to enemy chatter. Response teams inbound, more than 2,000 mixed units. She also patched to the strategic command on Orion's ship so she can gather battle data from the huge sensor arrays on the flagship. Rogue gambling big, bet wrong. And I've just brought 3,000 crazed obsidian berserkers to a mostly empty warship. The poet is going to be pissed. 10, Holiday says, Valkyrie on me, I boom, lifting my hands in a triangle formation. The 100 obsidians step over the debris of the commissary and gather behind me just as we train them to do on the journey from Jupiter. This is going to be a firestorm. Full power to shields. Victra, stay at my side, pair up for the Hydra if we encounter golds. There is no pain, only joy, they chant, deep in the embrace of the god's bread, which is what they call that mushroom. The god's bread sounds amazing. We have like the food of the gods that we call, what is that? Nectar's the food? What's the food of the gods? There's something. I feel like a specific dish, but food is so like bland, like God's bread. I love it. Yeah, I want fucking some of God's bread. Are you kidding me? Ambrosia. Thank you, Alex. Ashley says, I cringe every time I read Shift the Paradigm. You know what? That's fair, Ashley. Tech bros out there, you know what you did. Cassie says, hearing that face-to-face moment now gave a very Band of Brothers vibe when Winters charged up to that levee. I haven't seen Band of Brothers, which is funny because, like, friends of mine covered that for Unspoiled, Jamie and Cam. So Cam went as Krista at that point, if you decide to look for that. But, yeah, I haven't seen it myself. So, Chapter 47. This is the breach. I rush into the pulse field surrounding the breach point. Everything condenses. I fire my pulse fist, arm jerking spasmodically, ducking and moving so I don't block the entrance. Something slams into me. I stumble to the left wall, superheated particles screaming from my fist. My shield crackles with coil gun rounds that impact the energy barrier and fall flattened to the ground at my feet. And there are just, it's like absolute pandemonium. And so he's getting frustrated because there's so much smoke and there are grenades landing and he can't see anything. So he shoots up into the air using the grav boots and Victra follows him. I crash into the gold, razor outstretched, piercing his shield and spearing his brain, crash to the ground, arm pinned under me, and I was like, that was sudden. The gray response team separates from one another, keeping me at the center as I struggle to my feet. One shoots an ion charge into my back. Blue lightning spasms over my shields, killing them. I stab one gray through the neck with my razor. Two others fire into my chest. I was just like, I really didn't see it being this much like direct combat. He's like surrounded by, he's in a crowd, you know? So then comes Victra, and this is horror. This is smoke, the twitching bodies and evaporation of blood as it boils out of charred wounds. A dying man's urine pools around my armor, hissing against the superheated barrel of my pulse fist as Victra helps me up. That sounds very terrible. At our breach point, 6 Valkyrie are down. A huge woman's helmet peels back into her armor. She vomits blood. Half her torso smokes, molten armor still melting her flesh. She tries to stand, laughing at the pain, high on God's bread. But this is a new type of war to these women with new injuries. Unable to support herself, the Obsidian slumps against a sister who calls to Sephi. You guys, when he phrased it like that these warriors who are so trained and instilled to be fearless, that this is a type of warfare they have never been trained for. And that's like explicit, that's the point. It made me feel so much more afraid for them. I was like really kind of, I don't want to say taking it for granted, because I feel like that's like too harsh, but maybe that is correct. Taking it for granted that the Obsidians were just going to be the biggest badasses, no problem. And they still are, but the idea that this all, like the weapons and the ways in which they can be injured, and the fact that she's like, it's still melting to her. And has she experienced anything like that? I don't think so. Like, does she know that's happening? That there's something really scary about that made me go, is this fair? To do? But he gave them the option and they chose. So that's them, I guess. So then Mustang pops up and she says, have you breached? We're going to the bridge. What's happening? And he says, we're in. You're supposed to bug out. Roke used EMPs. Our shielding kept us up, but half my fleet's engines are squabbed. As soon as she says EMPs, I'm like, fuck, because this is the only, there are plenty of weapons that are bad news, but when you're dealing with something at this scale and that gets mentioned, it's like all bets are off. It's a whole different situation. Get to the Goridam Bridge and put him down. Register? Register. I turn to face my troops. We gotta move. Victra, take squad command. I'm going digital. Sephi, range ahead. So, Holiday is trying to hurry as much as she can. Victor and I burst around the corner, eating up meters, as a Grey tries to take his companion's place at the gun. As we press for the bridge at a full sprint, other elements of my force make for vital ship functions with new frantic speed. It's tempting to turge. Oh my God. Why did that sound like really offensive? It's tempting to surge ahead, focus only on getting to the bridge, but I can't abandon my plan. My platoon needs me to guide them using the battle map on my HUD. Speaking to Red and Grey platoon leaders, I coordinate on the run as Victra leads us through the maze of metal halls and ambushes. We're racing against the return of the leech craft. Roke knows this. And less than 3 minutes into our insertion, the ship goes into full lockdown protocol. All grav lifts and trams and bulkheads sealed off, creating a honeycomb of obstacles throughout the ship. We can only advance 50 meters at a time. It's a devilish system, pins down boarding forces as security teams with digital keys run about the ship at ease, flanking and creating deadly kill boxes and crossfires that can shred even a boarding party like mine. There's no way to combat it. This is the grind of war. No matter the tech or the tactics, it all comes down to terrifying moments crouching chalk-mouthed at a corner as a friend lays down cover fire and you try not to trip over the high-tech gear wrapped around your body as you advance, head lowered, legs churning. It's not bravery. It's fear of shaming yourself in the eyes of your friends that keeps you moving. That feels very much like it is spoken by a soldier. I don't know this author's history. I don't know if maybe he spoke to a soldier and they were just fucking real with him. But that really felt like the truth. And sometimes writers are just very good at writing things that are true, even if they haven't experienced it. And that's lovely because that's empathy. But, I don't know. I got questions because this is so and also the admission that I know that this is what they're going to do because we can't avoid it. This is just the reality. You've got to do it anyway, knowing that you're going to be at a big disadvantage if one thing goes wrong, if your timing is off. So then he hears his voice on the comm unit. Men and women of the Society Navy, this is the Reaper. Your ship has been boarded by the Sons of Ares. Every boarding party in my fleet has copies of the speech Mustang and I recorded together to upload to boarded enemy vessels. It exhorts low colors to aid my units to deactivate lockdown protocol if they can, to unlock doors manually if they cannot, and to storm the armories. Most of these men and women are veterans. It's unrealistic to expect the same sort of conversion I had on the Pax's crew, but every little bit helps. I love it so much. He's got a little, YouTube pre-roll ad. And he's just like, hey, if you like this invasion, please like and subscribe. I'm into it. This is such a good organizing, good marketing. You're really staying on brand here. It's just fully approved. We finally reach the bridge, battered and bloody. I crouch, panting, and increase the oxygen circulation in my armor. Swimming in sweat. I activate a stim injection in my gear to keep me from feeling the gash in my bicep where a gold's razor caught me. Roke, darling, Victor calls up to the cameras in the ceiling. How I've pined for you since the garden. Are you there? I'll just assume you are. Listen, I understand you think we must be wroth with you. What with the murder of my mother, the execution of our friends, the bullets in the spine, the poison, and a year of torture for dear Reaper and I. But that's not so. We just want to put you in a box. Maybe several. Would you like that? It's very poetic. Oh my God. I love her. I do. I just love her so much. So then comes, Sephi, because it's Holiday's name is right by Sephi's, and I was like, Holiday didn't pull somebody's head out, did she? But no, it is Sephi, who has the hell of Flagellus, who Victor knows, and is like, oh, he was a really nice guy and a good cook. How many are coming, Sephi? Enough to give us a good death. Shit. Holiday punches the door behind me. It's too thick, isn't it? Yeah. Door's not VDY specs like the rest of the ship. It's Ganymede Industries, custom, at least twice as thick. How long will it take to get through? At full burn, 14 minutes? 14? Victor repeats. Maybe more. I turn, hissing the anger out. The women know as well as I that we don't even have 5 minutes. I hail Mustang's comms. No answer. Her ships must be dying. Bloody damn, stay alive. Just stay alive. Why did I ever let her out of my sight? And I know that that's supposed to be like, I want to die by her side. I love her. I want to know what's happening with her. But it really, Darrow, you're not in a good position either. If she were with you, is that better? You know what I'm saying? So then, Victra, we charge them straight down the middle hall. They'll run like foxes from hounds. Yes, Sephi says, finding a more kindred spirit in Victra than either might have thought prior to shedding blood together. I will follow you, daughter of the sun, to glory. Piss on glory, Holiday says. Let the drill do its work. And sit here to die like pixies? Victor asks. Before I can say a word or do much of anything, there's a metallic wheeze behind me from the hydraulics in the wall as the door to the bridge opens. And that's where it ends. Guys, this could be anybody. It could be his friends. It could be the enemy that were right there. Can I turn the page? I'm actually doing pretty good on time right now. Look at this. I'm only at 53 minutes. This is like a record for me. Come on, let me turn the page. Let me do it. I'm going to do it. I just did it. Chapter 48, Imperator. I just got to read it. We surge onto the bridge expecting an ambush. Instead, it's calm. Clean, lights dimmed, just as Roke prefers it. Oh, I don't like that. Beethoven streams out from hidden speakers. Everybody is an influencer. Everyone is still at their stations, wan faces illuminated by pale light. two golds walk along the wide metal path that leads over the pit toward the front of the bridge, where Roke stands orchestrating his battle before a 30-meter wide holographic projection. Wait. Has he even noticed them? He has to have. He's listening to fucking Bates. You guys. Ships dance among the sensors. Framed by fire, he cycles through images, issuing commands like a great conductor, summoning the passion of an orchestra. His mind a beautiful, terrible weapon. He's destroying our fleet. Mustang's Deja Thoris leaks flame from her oxygen stores as the Colossus and her 3 escort destroyers continue to hammer her with railguns. Men and debris float through space. This is just one part of the larger battle. The great host of his force, including Antonia, has pursued Romulus, Orion, and the Telemanuses toward Jupiter. To our left, 20 meters away, near the bridge's armory, a tactical squad of Obsidians and Greys secure their heavy weapons and listen intently to their gold commanders, preparing to defend their bridge against me. Do they notice they're there? This is so weird. And just to our right, at the control panel by the now open door, unseen and unnoticed by anyone else on the bridge, trembles a small pink in a white Valise uniform. Oh my God, she just let them in. The passcode display glows green under her hands. Her thin figure is frail against the backdrop of war, but the woman's face is set defiantly, her finger on the door's release button, her mouth spreading into the most delightful little smile as she shuts the door behind us. Wait, is this good? That seemed like she was on their side, and then it seemed bad. I don't know. All this in 3 seconds. The gold infantry commander sees us. Wolves, lovely as they are when they howl, kill best in silence. So I point to the left, and the obsidians surge towards the soldiers listening to the gold. He shouts for them to turn, but Sephi is already on his men before they can lift their weapons. Dancing through them with her blades fluttering into faces and knees, her Valkyrie smash into the rest. Only 2 guns go off by the time the gold's body slides off the end of Sephi's razor and thumps to the floor. So it was good. It was good? Okay, I gotta keep, I'm sorry you guys. I'm just gonna keep reading just a little bit longer. Not like the whole chapter. Roke, I snarl as my men continue to kill. He's turned now from his battle to see me. All the nobility in him, all the cold-blooded imperator melting away, leaving him a stunned, startled man. Victra and I stalk across the bridge, blues beneath us to every side, staring up at us in confusion and fear even as their ship is engaged in battle. Silently, Roke's 2 Praetorians come at us. Both wear black and purple armor adorned with the silver quarter moon of House Loon. That sounds really pretty. I would rock that. We pair off on the metal bridge in the Hydra, Victra taking the right, me to the left. My Praetorian is shorter than I, her helmet off, hair in a tight bun, ready to proclaim the grand laurels of her family. My name is Felicia Au. I feint a whip at her face. She brings her blade up, and Victra goes diagonal and impales her at the belly button. I finish her off with a neat decapitation. By Felicia, Victra spits. He did not. Did he really? Oh, sir, control yourself. Oh my God, I cannot believe what I just read. Come on. Oh my God. Did somebody win a contest? Did somebody bet him that he couldn't fit that into the story? What? Oh, okay. I'm just a teeny tiny bit longer. Okay. Bye, Felicia, Victra spits, turning to the last Praetorian. No substance these days. Are you of the same fiber? The man drops his razor and goes to his knees, saying something about surrender. Victor's about to cut his head off anyway, when she glimpses me out of the corner of her eye. Grudgingly, she accepts his surrender, kicking him in the face, and hands him over to our obsidians, who secure the bridge. Victra, madam? She's like, all right, I'll not kill him, but I am going to kick him directly in the face. So, okay, compromise. That's what it's all about. The Blues still watch, unsure of what to do. The boarding party that came for us now fills our place in the corridor outside the bridge. We left the drill, but it would take them 10 minutes at least to breach the door. The comm on Roke's head buzzes with requests for orders. Squadrons he's sent on attack. I know that's like... I'm sorry, guys. It just really gave guy who is trying to both run the speaker at the drive-thru as well as the register at the window, and he's just, that's just immediately what I pictured here was like Roke in a Starbucks apron, like little visor. Roke, tell your fleet to stand down. He stares past me at the pink who let us onto the bridge, voice thick with the betrayal of a lover instead of that of a master. Amathia, even you. The young woman is not shamed by his sadness. She pulls her shoulders back, anchoring herself to the spot. She removes her rose badge on her collar that marks her the property of the gens Fabii and drops it to the ground. A tremor passes through my friend. You romantic sop, Victra laughs. I close the distance between myself and Roke, boots tracking blood over his gray steel deck. I love it. He really thought, this fucking shitbag, what that girl probably had to go through. Oof. I love it. No shame from her. She's just like, yeah, the fuck you think? This is chef's kiss. Tell them to stop firing. No, that's Mustang. She chose her fate. How many men did you send? How many did you send to the packs to bring me back here? 15,000? How many are those on the destroyers? Tell them to cease fire, or their lives are forfeit. According to my conscience, I can give no such order. He knows what it means. Then this is on both of us. His head snaps toward his calm blue. Cyrus, tell the destroyers to take evasive action. Too late, Victor says as I raise the output on the generator. It throbs an evil crimson on my datapad, washing us with its light. And on the hologram behind Roke, the Pax begins to release gouts of blue flame. Frantically responding to their imperator, the destroyers halt their barrage on Mustang and try to jet away. But a bright light implodes in the center of the Pax, enveloping the metal decks and crumpling the hull as energy spasms outward. The shock wave hits the destroyers, and crumpling their hulls, smashes them into one another. The Colossus shudders around us, and we're knocked through space as well, but her shielding holds. The Deja Thoris drifts, lights dark. I can only pray that Mustang is alive. I bite the inside of my cheek to make me focus. Why didn't you just use our guns? Roke says, shaken by the loss of his men, of his destroyers, at being so outmaneuvered. You could have crippled them. I'm saving these guns, I say. They won't save you. He turns back to me. My fleet has yours in flight. They will decimate the remainder and return here and take the Colossus back. Then we'll see how well you hold a bridge. Silly poet. Haven't you wondered where Severo is? Victor asks. Don't tell me you lost track of him in all this. She nods to the screen, where his fleet pursues the routed forces of the Moonlords in Orion toward Jupiter. He's about to make his entry. When the battle began, the outermost of the inner four moons of Jupiter, Thebe, was in far rotation, But as the battle dragged on, her orbit brought her closer and closer, taking her across the path of my now retreating navy, just under 20,000 kilometers from Io. Led by Antonia's flagship, Roke's fleet pursued, as they should have, to complete the destruction of my forces. What they did not anticipate was that my ships had always planned to bring them to Thebe, the proverbial dead horse. While I negotiated with Romulus, teams of helldivers were melting caverns into the face of barren Thebe. Now, as Roke's battlecruisers and torch ships pass the moon, Severo and 6,000 soldiers and star shells pour out of the caverns, and out the other side of the moon pours 2,000 leechcraft, packed with 50,000 obsidians and 40,000 screaming reds. Wow. They made the moon into Swiss cheese. They did it. It's been done, finally. Ladies and gentlemen, what we were all waiting for as children. My God. Yet even my victory carries betrayal. Romulus had gold leechcraft of his own prepared to launch from the surface of the moon, so that he could carry ships as well to balance my gains. But I need the ships more than he, and my Reds collapsed the mouth of their tunnels at the same time Severo launches. By the time he realizes the sabotage, my fleet will outnumber his. Ooh. Ooh. I could not lure you to an asteroid field, so I brought one to you, I say to Roke as we watch the battle unfold. Well played, Roke whispers, but we both know the plan works only because I have 100,000 obsidian, and he does not. I think I have to stop there. I really could keep reading, but I won't. It's going to be too long. Guys, this is so satisfying. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it almost went too well. Now I'm a little paranoid about it. I guess this writer has trained me well. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. And I'll be seeing you soon with another episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.